I remember the exact second the lie stopped pretending to be polite. The phone buzzed on my kitchen counter. No greeting, no emoji, no "hope you're well," just 6 words. The mortgage is due. I stared at the screen long enough for it to dim. Then I unlocked it again, slowly, like reopening a wound just to confirm it was still bleeding. That was the moment I knew everything I had suspected was true, and that they still thought I was stupid. I typed 1 word, understood, not because I intended to help, but because that word had always been my favorite camouflage. I didn't grow up resentful. That's the part people don't believe. They think this story begins with jealousy, with some lifelong rivalry between brothers. It doesn't. It begins with loyalty, with consistency, with me being the one who showed up when everyone else found reasons not to. I was the child who stayed close. I paid bills before I paid rent. I fixed things before I fixed my own life. I learned how to be useful early because usefulness was rewarded with proximity, with approval, with a place at the table. My brother learned something else. He learned how to be admired without effort. We were raised in the same house, but not the same reality. I learned responsibility. He learned entitlement. When Dad's back went out, I rearranged my schedule. When Mom needed help navigating insurance forms, I came over after work and stayed until midnight. When the furnace died in winter, I paid for the replacement and told them not to worry about it. My brother sent texts, sometimes, if reminded. They told me I was dependable, reliable, the rock. They told him he was brilliant, busy, destined. I didn't mind, not then. Rocks don't complain, they hold things up. The betrayal didn't arrive with drama, it arrived disguised as paperwork. Dad asked me to scan some documents for him one afternoon. His printer was acting up. I sat at the dining table I'd refinished myself, fed the pages through my scanner, and named the files neatly. One of them was misfiled, a draft, a will. I noticed it because my name was spelled wrong. Then I noticed something worse. I wasn't listed at all. I didn't react immediately. That's important. Pain doesn't always explode. Sometimes it freezes. Sometimes it sharpens. I scrolled, read, reread, everything. The house, the savings, the retirement accounts, even the antique watch Dad used to promise me someday. All of it, left to my brother. I wasn't mentioned, not as an heir, not as a beneficiary, not even as a contingency. I was invisible, after decades of being essential. I closed the file, renamed it correctly, finished the task I'd been asked to do. Then I drove home in silence. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront them. I did something far more dangerous. I started remembering. Memory is a forensic tool when you let it be. I remembered how often Mom would say, "You don't need anything. You're so self-sufficient." I remembered how Dad would tell me, "Your brother needs more help. Life's harder for him." I remembered every check I'd written, every repair, every quiet sacrifice that had been framed as love but logged as obligation. They hadn't forgotten me in the will. They had calculated me out. That night, I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet. Date, amount, purpose, utilities, medical copays, property taxes, home insurance, groceries, repairs. I didn't estimate, I documented. I went back years, every transfer, every receipt, every "don't worry about it" that had cost me real money. By the time the spreadsheet was done, the number at the bottom had 6 figures. And suddenly, the will made sense. I wasn't their child. I was their financial infrastructure. I didn't stop helping immediately. That would have raised suspicion. Instead, I became slower, less available. I missed a payment cycle by accident. I delayed a repair. I asked questions I'd never asked before. "Can this wait? Have you talked to my brother about this?" They brushed it off at first, smiled, redirected. Old habits die hard. But eventually the silence noticed itself. The first test came with the electricity bill. Mom called, voice tight. The payment didn't go through. I told her I'd look into it. I didn't. The lights stayed on, barely, but the panic flickered. Then the water heater failed. Dad hinted, then asked, then assumed. I said nothing. I let them feel the gap where my reliability used to live. A month passed, then the text arrived. The mortgage is due. No greeting, no context, just expectation. That's when the last piece clicked into place. They hadn't just disinherited me, they'd done it while assuming I'd continue funding their life indefinitely. They hadn't cut me out, they'd outsourced responsibility. I replied, understood, because I wanted them calm, because calm people don't check their footing. Then I called a lawyer. I didn't ask if what they did was legal, I asked how to protect myself.